Hello humans, and welcome back to the UR. We're the podcast that melds with the soul of electronic music in Canada and beyond. I'm your host and Sherpa, Jello. If you've been following our podcast and stream, then you've been hearing many stories about the lovable genre of breaks. I think that one of the people that did lots for the genre in Canada, and most definitely locally, would be our guest with us right now. An absolutely electric performer with a passion for delivering his vision for music that does have broken beats was clear each time he stepped before the mixer and dance floor. He's released numerous singles and remixes and has run 2 record labels that help showcase his sound and the sounds of fellow breakers. While most make grandiose gestures with their arms outstretched, as if to land an airplane or referee a football game, I'll think of our guest's giant smile, ever present, constantly dancing, and a laugh that warmed up a room. The predominant adventure of music production and performance has shifted to being a leader who helps leaders and those that wish to lead. He's published a book that's doing great and selling like hotcakes called Die Before They Do. And we are together right now to celebrate the release of this mighty tale alongside capturing the energy of the adventure that is still ongoing decades later. Nearly 14 feet deep in the utility room with Robb G.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
You're welcome and well-deserved. This is wild. I can't believe I'm actually sitting before this right now.
It's wild to see. It's wild not just holding the book and now hearing messages from people telling me the part they read and what really resonated with them and the reaction. And you can relate to this when you're sharing music, you get the reaction live, but I've published it and people are at home reading it or on their own time, and then I'm getting these messages from people being like, whoa, that's crazy. Wow, thank you. And so it's crazy that it exists.
There wasn't, for me, I didn't know that there was a lead-in. I didn't feel like there was a discussion that, I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna publish it. And you'll be able to buy it and read it and like get involved with it. And it's like, it was also like, everything's going great. And I check out your socials sometimes because, I'll use Instagram and check out what are my friends and fam and everyone else doing out there. And then all of a sudden it was like, book. So it's like, whoa. And the title is, on first glance, because the font is so like, it's massive on it, before you can actually, there's like a blurb that's underneath the title of the book. So it's like, Die Before They Do. And you're like, that's partying really hard? Is that what it means? Like, so what does the title mean?
So there's different layers to the meaning. There's a story at the end that really shows the true meaning of it, but a big part of my journey has been dying or almost dying physically and metaphorically. And I've been near death more than one occasion, and there's stories of my near death experiences, but also to evolve, to like walk away from DJing and create a new career, and then walk away from that career and start my own company. I've had to allow my identity, who the hell I believed I was, to go and die.
Okay, I want to get into that. I think that there's probably, it says in this little blurb, by the way, from selling drugs to lunch with Jim Carrey, stories of struggle, near-death experiences, and creating a life with meaning. And you're like, oh shit. So this is autobiography.
Autobiography. Yeah, it's a collection of stories from my adventures starting off from pre-music days all through music.
Is it linear?
Linear-ish. It's pretty damn linear.
Okay, so let's get into it. Why breakbeats?
It's so funny. I didn't know where you're going with that. I loved disco when I was a kid, thanks to my mom, and I loved hip-hop, late 80s, early 90s hip-hop, which was really funky. And then I discovered breaks, and it was this taking of the organic funk of the hip-hop that I loved and putting it at a disco house tempo, and it was the funkiest, funnest thing to dance to, super fun to mix, and it felt rebellious. It was like as if I needed to rebel further because I was into raving, but it was the bastard child within the rave scene, so it was fun.
Wow. So not really electronic music at all.
Yeah, well, my roots go before that. When I got introduced to electronic music, it was like, oh shit, this is future music. Like I was living in England in '89 because my dad was posted there for work, and I went to the local youth club and they were playing like acid house and other stuff. I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm into it. And even then, like there was breakbeats in the UK sound in the late 80s, early 90s. But then when I discovered breaks as a style of music a couple years later, and I really got into DJing, I was like, oh, this is bringing everything I love together. You can sample funk. You can sample rock. You can have 80s electro. You can have disco, but it's always got that funky beat.
Wild. You know, because you want to hear the story that there was like, you know, it was you know, Herbie Hancock, Rocket, you know, because I think to myself, like, what was that movie? There was a movie. Was it called Break Dancing? What was that movie called?
Oh, the 80s break. What's that?
Breakin'.
Yes.
Okay, and so Rocket was on that, was part of the soundtrack.
Yes.
And this was like, I guess, the first time that I'd heard electro, which I feel like electro like birthed lots. I know that that house and techno get tons of cred,
yes,
but electro, it's like so much came from that genre, and definitely like, and Herbie Hancock, like, it's funny because, you know, growing up, I was like, I want to hear new Herbie Hancock, but when I got a hold of it, I'd be like, I'm ready for like Rocket 2. Instead, I got like jazz.
It's like best electro track ever, like iconic electronic music track for decades, and he's like, "Nah, you're just getting more jazz now."
You know what I mean? It was a very cool digression, you know, and you know, amazing. Obviously, he's incredible to be able to, you know, like, quick left, okay, you know, back onto the road that I was on, you know. But what was it? I guess, did you hear a certain breakbeat record that all of a sudden you were like really relating to, and that it solidified the ideas of what it was that you had in your head, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, that's out there?
I'm trying to think. Well, there's definitely some early like Icy records and things that were just so big, and even him, like, he sampled heavy, he sampled electro, he sampled house things, and it was great. Yeah, I think Icy, some early Icy records be the ones that really kind of stick out. And then when I first started buying records in Toronto, I bought everything because I didn't know. I bought trance records, I bought techno records, I bought breakbeat records, I bought jungle records, knowing. And I think actually, now that you're teasing this out, the first time that I perfectly beat matched two records and I was like, oh, that's how it's supposed to be done, there were two breakbeat records.
Right.
And at the time I had a super eclectic collection. And it was from that moment and it just even deepened it further. There was already fun to dance to. Yeah, I can't, it was just like, I loved dancing, I loved electronic music, I loved hip hop and disco, and it was all over the place. But then, yeah, breaks was this cauldron. It was like a mixing pot for it all. But Icy would probably be some early Icy records. If I'm going to give credit to anyone, it was like, that's the tune. And it might have been Bird Go Go, like Energy Tracks Volume 1 or whatever.
Ridiculous anthem, breakbeat, you know, up there with Everybody Needs a 303, Fatboy Slim.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is I got to, later in life, not only get to know him and become friends with him, I remixed that track.
I didn't know that.
I remixed that track, and for me,
maybe I did. No, I don't think I did.
Yeah, and for me, that was like oh shit, the teenage me would be so excited right now.
Right?
Yeah, so fun.
Did you ever feel the pressures? Because I know that you settled into breaks, and became a breakbeat DJ. Yeah. Did you feel the pressures when you were starting out? Because you had a promo. I'm going to digress real quick for a second. You had a really clever promo. Who the fuck is Robb G?
Yes.
And the promo was great because people were like, well, who the fuck is Robb G? So, you know, did you feel the pressure when that happened to change genres or start incorporating other genres? Because, and I'm saying this, I feel like this is a very long-winded question. I'm saying this because, you know, being a breaks DJ for a second and then playing at a breaks party and then slipping in 4 house records would be a taboo move, right? Ultimate no-no.
But I would do it. And
then, maybe not so much now, right? But then.
No, but I would do it, and I would get people in the breakbeat police giving me a hard time for playing such things, but I didn't care because I would take a drum bass record at the wrong speed. I would play a house tune, and it was still, as long as it had some shuffle. There was pressure because there was a purist scene in the city, and we were already the outcasts. But sorry, I cut you off before you finish your question.
No. You're doing it. You're doing the thing.
All right. So, yes, there was pressure, but I kind of did give a shit. And I just did my own thing anyway. And that Who the ROBB G campaign is one of the stories in here because I was living in Barrie. I was playing little shitty shows in and around Barrie. I really wanted to break into Toronto. I started getting gigs. Like I played in Indiana. I played in Vancouver. I got booked in like Niagara Falls, but I couldn't break into the real parties here because you were either playing the big raves, And if you were, they printed 20, 30,000 of these glossy flyers, so you're on the short line of people get to play the big parties, or you weren't. It was like you're in the club or you're out. And I was like, okay, I can't get on the flyer unless I'm on the parties. I can't be in the parties unless I'm on the flyer. What am I going to do? So I made my own goddamn flyer. I printed 15,000 of those Who the Fuck is Robb G flyers. And I used to DJ at other towns, drive into Toronto, stand outside of parties in the morning and hand them out alongside all the other promoters.
Right.
Yeah, because I was like, how I have to think of a new way to circumvent the fact. Back we were talking before we started rolling cameras about the music that you're making and using the limited amount of tools you have to make something awesome. I was like, okay, I don't have a big budget. I can't make glossy flyers. I'm not there. What do I have? I was like, I can scrape together a couple $100. I can make a shitty black and white flyer. It just has to have a catchy headline. So that people are like, yeah, who the fuck is Robb G? And
right.
To this day, people still say it because it worked.
It did.
It totally worked.
100%. 100%. Besides the idea of getting your first big booking, what was the biggest hurdle that had to be overcome when you started DJing?
Getting the first booking, trying to think. It's any scene that is worth getting a break in, pun intended, is clicky. Like there's people that are in it. There's like friends and whatever, and people roll with certain people. So there wasn't just like clickiness, and I was from outside of the city, and I didn't dress so cool, and I didn't like know the ins and outs or whatever. So there's that, and then just getting the music. Because now it's online. Now there's not a limited number of copies. And if you don't know what something is, you can Shazam it. But I know you suffered this too, like going to the record store on record store day, and all the top dogs get all the picks. People are getting the records from the back room before they even hit the floor, and then you're there scraping over the crumbs. So even trying to get the good music was a struggle at first.
I got to tell you, I feel like that was a strong fuel. I was about to say bit, but that's the wrong way of saying it. Yeah. It was strong for me because, firstly, that made me like Indiana Jones in the crates, okay? And I'd find the gold, and I started to realize also, is that you could have the newest popular track, and there's something to be said about having that tool. You could also have something that no one's ever heard before that could be 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 years old. Yeah. And it can work. And that's a great way of introducing people to music. And then, of course, it's always fun to watch the expression when someone says, "What is that?" And that's what they'd have to say, because this is pre-Shazam, of course, I'm talking about. Yeah. And you'd say, "It's this from then." They'd be like, "That's not brand new. That sounds like it's from the future." But like, no, it's not from the future. It's from the past. So there was a cool thing happening. Also, simultaneously, I felt like if that crew had it and they were playing it, then I don't want to, because then I'm going to step up and then I'm going to go on. And then I didn't want someone to say, "Oh, I love that track you're playing. DJ ABC played that last week." Yeah. And I'd be like, well, then,
I can relate to that, because that's part of the reason why I broke the rules. And even though I was labeled a breaks DJ and playing at these breaks parties, that I would play different stuff. I'd take a hip hop track and speed it up. I'd take a drum bass track and slow it down. I'd play a house tune if I thought it had enough shuffle, because I didn't want to be playing the same tunes that everyone else was. Yeah, there's a couple really big labels for a bit, and everyone's playing the same kind of stuff, and there's certain hits. And yeah, how do you carve out a sound if everyone's playing the same stuff? It's the same now. We see it, someone who's playing the top 10 from Beatport and just doing a 16-bar mix of the same shit that everyone's like, well, why bother? Like, just be a jukebox. Just put it on shuffle. Yeah.
Because you want to ask the question, at least I would, why am I here? I'm asking that question from the dance floor, right? Yeah. So then I know why I'm there, right? And then if you're asking all the questions. And of course, we're talking about a very ideal scenario, right? The one that is personal to us. Yeah. Where have your best dance floor experiences been? And I'm asking you that because I've seen you go off on social media dancing, even recently, I believe, or maybe months ago. Yeah, yeah. Recently, I feel like that's recently. I don't know, the pandemic is like, where am I? Is it 2022? It is almost.
Almost. We're days away.
I'm pretty sure it's 2019, isn't it? Like,
yes.
Yeah, no. Okay, so, but, fuck, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Best dance floors. Were we asking best dance floors as a DJ?
For you, yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. I was trying to ask you, like, what has been your best experience? Has it been something personal when you were by yourself with headphones in your ears? Has it been when you've been out surrounded by a group of people? Has it been when you've been behind the mixer?
there's definitely times behind the mixer where I felt like just in complete flow, where everything went right, where I did things that I didn't intend on doing. I mixed songs that I didn't even think of mixing, where like it felt like magic, where like there's a couple times where I literally collapsed after. So there's a couple of those. But if I'm thinking just like not as a DJ, just dancing, it's probably more recent. When I was younger and shit was tough at home and my mom was depressed and we were living in England and I was getting teased for being different, that's when I really started dancing a whole bunch at the teen club in England. That was pretty magic because that was like an escape. I went there and all my problems didn't matter. I was dancing to like Nina Cherry and 808 State and whatever, just like eyes closed, magic. The next closest thing to that for me is probably 3 or 4 years ago, after retiring, taking a total hiatus, barely playing anywhere except for maybe Pride, I started going out again. And I started going out with no agenda. And I'm not trying to be cool. I'm not trying to like schmooze with anyone in town. There's no like out of town producer or whatever. And I just go to Coda and I wore a hat. And I didn't talk to really anyone. And I just got lost on the dance floor.
This is recently?
This is like 3 or 4 years ago. And I just go and like dance the way I used to dance when I was a young teenager, when I was 12, when I was 13, when I used to go to raves when I was 15, 16 or whatever. And it had that same kind of magic because you know, once you start being in the scene and like trying to get the new music and you're remixing this and you're trying to get on that label and you're hoping to get that booking, and then so much of the other noise becomes not about dancing and not about the dance floor. But then when I went out dancing a few years ago again, that didn't matter. I wasn't trying to make money from music. I wasn't trying to make it as a DJ anymore. I just went to Coda to a night, you know, like Claude Van Stroke's playing, I'm wearing a hat, I'm not talking to anyone, and I just get sweaty and ugly in the middle of the dance floor like I did when I was a kid. It was fucking amazing.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. I'm caught. How many times did you do this?
Like 3 or 4 times. Like enough that I did it for a bit and it was fun. Yeah.
You didn't tell anybody you were going?
Like
You wanted the personal experience.
Yeah, I wanted to experience. Like maybe I'd like hit up Joel, like, hey, I'm going to come out tonight. I want to go dancing. Cool, I'll hook you up. But other than that, like I got in, I went, I danced. I didn't go hang out behind the DJ booth. I didn't like try and chat with other people. I went there to go let loose. It was great. It was really great.
How important was the mixtape?
I lived for a summer off of selling mixtapes. It was everything. Back to you couldn't Shazam stuff. Like there was songs that or like certain DJs were good at trying to find songs that other people didn't have. Like there was music you knew that you could only hear that track if you went to go see that DJ. And then therefore, the mixtape was a really great way to showcase you, like, this is what I'm about right now, this is songs that I'm into, this is what I share in the world, and you could tell a story with a mixtape. You know, I know you did a double tape, I did a double tape at one point, like you can tell an even longer story. You could showcase, it was such a great way. And as far as sharing music, music was shared. Like, hey, I heard something, check it out. I'm swapping tapes, you dub tapes off of people. Yeah, it was really interesting to think of music only in a physical medium. And it was your calling card, right? Like it was your business card of sorts, and people would hand it out, or you recorded live at the show. They were everything. They really were. Record stores, mixtapes, they're big parts of the scene now. Now you have scenes that exist without record stores and without mixtapes. It's really interesting.
At least the tangible kinds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what was your process like in creating it?
Gather everything that I was really excited with right now, music that I was really liking.
Okay.
And then going to dig for things that I used to like that I haven't included on a mix before. And then normally you're talking earlier, and I like this, like going to find something from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe like something from disco or electro or 80s era, and find some of that to kind of layer in, because it was really fun to find, like, yeah, put a Depeche Mode track in, put something from the 80s, and then...
This was something that you did. I do remember the Depeche Mode. For a moment, I feel like Just Can't Get Enough was like, there was at least a summer of it.
And I'll still that, and like Eurythmics or whatever, like, but I had the original vinyl pressing, and the mastering wasn't as good, and the drums are kind of crap, but it's cool because it's got the same steady rhythm, and it's hooky, and then you can layer other stuff over top of it. So yeah, the new stuff I'm really excited about, go looking for older stuff that I haven't included in mix, and then go hunt for like 1 or 2 older dusty things that you wouldn't really find on someone else's mixes.
There were, for some, especially when it was specifically a mixtape, that would go digital options. Were you always recording your mixes live?
At first, absolutely, always recording my mixes live, and then for a bit I went
in real time.
And
like
in
the
real
whole,
time.
yeah, right.
And in real time, and then there's a period where I'd have to go look. If I was looking at my list of mixes, I could say like these ones I switched to digital, and then I was like, this sucks. And then I went into the studio live and I did another one. It was like, I don't remember what the label was, like 23 tracks in 60 minutes mixed live, and I went back to that format because I did a couple of those more digitally done, and I don't know, it didn't feel fun. It felt fake. It felt whatever. So I went back to doing them live on the fly.
I've put out the idea that one of the reasons why vinyl is so adored is because the format is permanent. And so, I mean, obviously mixers and players now have changed that, right? So, but I'm talking about specifically with if just vinyl and not with a Serato or record box style hookup, just the mixer, 212s. Yep. And when you've got that record, this is the difference between, I guess, a typical or a generalized techno-style DJ and a turntablist, right? Is that they're taking a permanent format and manipulating it. And yes, techno DJs obviously to some degree as well. But because it's permanent, there's something special about being caught in that moment that digital can't do. Would you agree? Would you say that maybe that is the... I've spent time thinking about that because I'm like, vinyl, someone say the sound. And I mean, I kind of maybe can tell the difference.
For me, the other aspect I think is, you were talking earlier about like how do you choose your music? It forced you. Again, we're talking about constraints again for creativity. You're flying out for a string of shows. You've got 3 shows over the course of 5 days. One is a small club gig. One is a big festival stage. One is a medium-sized club, but you're playing a different slot. They all need different music. You can only bring 200 records. This record has 2 or 3 tracks on it you can play. This one has one small cut on the inside on the B-side. So you're forced to like, what cards am I putting in my deck? What records am I putting in my bag? So there was that magic, I think, too, because it like now there's like how many thousands of tunes do you have on your laptop, right? It's just... So
yeah, but not all of them are warped.
Yeah. So there was that aspect too, and then there's also like no net. You're just like, you're there, no net. The needle might skip, the ground might go. Versus digital, you always have a net. Or like the record would run out. Like we've all been there. The goddamn record runs out. Now you're playing if you get to the end of the tune, you don't get it. The CDJ goes into recovery safety mode and is just going to loop the ending for you, so you don't even have that awkward pause.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I don't use players, right?
Yeah, it did. So there's all these safety nets now. So I think there was that, like, oh, we're live. Like you really are at the whim.
Recovery safety mode. Fucking love it. That's dope. Lessons learned from running a record label that released vinyl singles.
Lessons learned. I never gave enough attention or time or money to mastering earlier on in the process. And I found somewhere locally that could do it, and they were more experienced with rock records, and they got it done, and I didn't have to deal with like overseas whatever, but they sounded like shit. So many of my early records sound like crap, versus later I'm starting to work with someone overseas and mastering in the UK, and those records sound amazing. So quality mastering is really big. 2, again, back to the creative approach. So one of the walls I ran into, one of the challenges I ran into with Laid Back Lab Records is a distributor in New York, Nemesis, like, cool, we love it, we want to order some. I ship them some. They call me, they're like, yo, we'd order more if we'd have to pay for the cross-border duty or whatever. And then one of the reasons why I shut down Laid Back Lab Records and started Promo Records was to circumvent that. So I never really spoke about it. I put it in the book, but I never really spoke about it, even to like my closest friends, like you or anyone else. I was like, okay, he's saying he would order more, and then whenever I was filling out the FedEx forms or UPS forms to send him, it was, is it a gift, is it a sample, is it a sale item, whatever. But if you checked gift or sample, they didn't have to pay duties. So I changed the label, shut down one label, started another one, called it Promo Records, and I'm shipping records to New York. I'd put, it's a sample. If someone opened it up, and look, it says Promo Records on it, they didn't have to pay duties. I doubled my sales overnight.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, this sucks. This person's telling me they want to buy more, but they can't because they're paying extra. And I was like, how do I get around this? So shut down one record label, started another, changed the name. They never paid duties. I sold way more.
That's wild. And brilliant. I mean, really.
Thank you.
That's some serious guerrilla shit.
Yeah.
What was it that had you wanting to take a break?
Fucking hating myself. Hating myself. Drinking way too much.
Can we talk about the alcohol?
Yeah, we absolutely talk about the alcohol. Yeah.
You know, I think I mentioned this to you when it happened, but we were at the last burn together. Well, I guess it wasn't really the last burn, if you want to call the Renegade burn.
The last, like, fully official burn.
The last official burn.
Yeah.
Org burn. That I remember that you came into where the RV, and I offered you a drink, and you were like no, and I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I wasn't like, yeah, you should really have it. But then I had no idea that there was even a struggle that took place, you know, and you know, I felt fucking terrible, you know, afterwards. Once I'd learned that was the thing, because I'd never want to be like.
Yeah, I don't feel like you were pushy. I don't think you need to wear.
No.
You definitely were pushy.
No. I cheers. I appreciate that. No, I hate that shit. You know what I mean? Regardless of your status. I mean, I said no the first time. The second time I'm saying yes. So hating yourself, drinking too much.
Yeah, miserable. I hated it. I couldn't look in the mirror, and like I saw, my marriage was falling apart. I was at the point where I was making music I didn't like, to play to people I didn't feel connected to for a paycheck. And my way of dealing with that crisis was drinking till I was blackout drunk on a regular basis. In a scene where it was encouraged and where it was, people thought it was funny.
So you're saying that, like, you were like partying not like in a celebratory way. You were partying,
You know, like, yeah, numb. I like turn it off.
What was there something else? Are you saying that you were hating yourself because you felt like you were on a ride that was not fun anymore, or was there something else besides the music?
There's so much stuff. So it's what I'd been doing since high school. It's how I made money. It's where I met my wife. It's where I made all my friends. It was my entire identity. Like, I was Robb G. There was no separating the two. And my marriage was falling apart because I was absent, because I was drinking too much, because I didn't like who I was. I didn't like and I didn't know where my future was. Like, I got to a very dark place, a very, very, very dark place. So, yeah, the hardest chapter to read in that book is halfway through, where I talk about almost taking my life and putting the belt around my neck and being like 90 seconds away from doing it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I'm comfortable talking about it, and
I would have not brought it up had it not been part of the story.
Yeah.
So I felt that if you were comfortable enough to talk about it in the page, be comfortable enough to talk about it with us.
Well, and I want to, because one of the reasons why I've started talking about it publicly is because I know so many other people struggle quietly. So many other people, especially as men, there's this feeling of, like, if you feel like you're a failure, if you feel like you're not providing, if you feel like, and you can't talk about your feelings. Like, it's changing now a little, thank fucking God. But we were raised in a time where Bill Burr's got this great joke. He's like, well, I can't even say the puppy's cute or someone's going to call me a faggot. So, like, it's just, I'm talking about it publicly because I know so many people suffer. So many people suffer quietly. So many men feel that they can't talk about it. And yeah, I was there. I was at the line. And I've come back. And I feel like one of my duties is to put it on the table, to let people know that you're not alone. You're not suffering alone. And it's okay to feel that you're in a dark place. And there's people who still care about you. And there's reasons still to live. And there's help out there. Like, I feel it needs to be spoken about.
So this is, for me, a big ingredient on the show. I try to always keep it uplifting and never really get into the idea that you know, there's tons of other stuff that we could get into, but I feel like the music is always really important. The love is really always important. The journey and the adventure, and this journey is awesome because this is no longer the case. That's while we're telling the story right now, we also know that there's not an ending, but there's a happy outcome.
Yes.
And so I want to hear, what did you do? How did you get out?
So I'm going to go back to the darkest moment. I'm in that darkest moment. I'm almost there. I'll tell you what it is, though.
Okay.
I had the realization that this heavy, crushing pain that I couldn't get rid of, that I didn't know what to do with, if I went through with it, I was just going to hand that to my children, and they would have no way to deal with it. And once I made that decision, once I had that aha, then it was like, okay, I have to fix this. And one of the first things, you know, like it was like, no more drinking, started journaling a lot, went to therapy, started meditating, started going to yoga, started changing the people I was spending time with, started changing the things I was reading, like literally, like what are all the components of my life that I can change? Because, you know, I was talking earlier, die before they do, is like ROBB G had to die. Like I had to be okay with letting ROBB G go and detaching myself from thinking that I've always been a DJ, I have to be a DJ. You know, that if I failed at this marriage, I'm a failure. Like, no, I can recreate myself after a failed marriage. I can find happiness. I can do new things. I don't have to be just this DJ producer for the rest of my life. So that realization, and then with all those things I just listed, the meditation, the yoga, the quitting drinking, the changing people I was spending time with, and I'm a completely different person now. Like I've worked with clients in 8 countries this year. I love what I do, and I know I'm making a difference in the lives of other people. I'm getting incredible feedback from. I've got this incredible relationship with my children. I'm in the most loving relationship of my life. My girlfriend and I call each other care buddies because we see our role is to care and support each other. I'm able to go out dancing just for the fun of dancing. Like, it's amazing where I'm at now.
I'm gonna circle back to that. Besides the mechanical aspect. And thinking more towards workflow and Imagineering, what's the difference between making a single and writing a book?
Ooh. I think the better comparisons would be like maybe doing an album and doing a book, because on the album each track could be a chapter.
Okay.
So I think maybe that's a better comparison.
You hadn't made an album?
I'd made an album before, but even then I think the album...
There's a ROBB G album?
Yeah, Shuffle Banger.
A full album. How many tracks?
10, 12.
And they're all original?
Yeah, well, there's like
my remix with collabs or something.
Yeah, a couple collabs,
sure.
or like my remix of someone else's tune. Yeah. It's okay.
On with the show. Okay, sorry.
But
okay, so let's go. Okay, good. Then let's go there.
All right.
Let's go with the album.
So,
let's go. We'll rework the question.
Yeah, so the album in a book, I think the same thing is like the goal is a bigger finished piece of things. Like it's a collection of ideas. A lot of time and effort and thought kind of goes into it. And with an album, some people can do everything. Some people can do all the sound design, all of the arrangement, all of the mastering and stuff. But for a lot of people, that's not the case, so you bring someone else in. So it's the same thing with this. Like I hired a professional editor who helped me correct some grammar and helped me think about the connectivity of some of the different stories and stuff, so it flowed a little bit better. The same way you would hire like a mastering or mixdown person to help you with the final thing. So there's a lot of comparisons, and actually the way this book turned out, the fact that it is a collection of stories, it almost is like an album, as far as like you take a bunch of tracks and you put them together so they all fit together in some kind of flow. Because the book is essentially a collection of short stories. The other thing is, when you're creating something like an album or a book, and you're a creative person, and I don't care if it's painting or any other kind of creative thing, you can get into writer's block, you can get overwhelmed, you can get stuck. And what really helped me get through this book is I promised my commitment was 200 crappy words per day. 200 is really easy to write 200 words. And it's a really easy barrier to meet. So it's very easy for me to get that, like, attaboy, you did it. And also labeling them crappy words was intentional, because then I didn't have to think like I'm going to write beautiful prose. It's just like write crappy words. And then what would happen is some days it would be 500 crappy words. Some days it would be 1,000 great words. Some days it was 5,000 words. But it was just like showing up every day. It's like you sit down, you're going to work on stuff, and your goals, you're going to sit down, you're going to spend some time working on music and spend an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, hope something good comes out, but what you're committing to is just showing up. Words on the page, notes on the screen. So there's some similarities to it. I think maybe the difference, and we were sharing this a little bit earlier, is if you create an album, if you create a single, especially if you're a DJ, you can perform it. You can then share it later and see the reaction live. I haven't sat anywhere yet and read a chapter of my book to see a reaction of the room, so all the reaction and feedback I'm getting is comments online, direct messages, so it's weird because then I forget, and then someone mentions a story or mentions an idea, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's in there. So the feedback piece is different.
Have you thought about doing a live book reading? Have you thought about getting up on a stage in like a bookstore and spitting out a chapter to a room full of people?
I've thought about it, and if it wasn't for COVID, it's something that maybe would have kind of happened already, and it's something that I suspect, given the way the book is going now and the buzz on it, that I'll end up doing at some point in the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then I guess also, will there be a sequel? Will there be Die Before They Do Too? Die Harder.
Die Harder. I have other books in me. Okay. Will it be a sequel? I don't know.
Right. Do you feel like the journey that you've been on so far has been captured here?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. How does a leader handle a shitty day?
A leader handles a shitty day by reflecting on what they have control over versus what they don't have control over. A leader handles a shitty day by realizing that you get a fresh start at tomorrow. A leader handles a shitty day by looking at what they can take ownership of instead of blaming other people or blaming circumstances. And then for everyone, everyone should have some form, like for, I listed things earlier, like meditation, yoga, whatever. Some people it's riding a bike. Some people it's banging on some drums. Some people it's playing with their dog. Like, find the things that aren't related to your day that fill you with energy, that make you feel alive, that remind you of, find some other form of expression or exercise or thing that gets you in a state of flow. I think that's the other thing I would say too.
There's an expression, find something that you love and let it kill you. And I thought that would be relatable because of the book title. Do you agree with this?
And let it kill you. I've never heard it before.
You've never heard that? You've never heard that saying?
No.
Find something that you love and let it kill you.
I've never heard of it.
I don't know who said it. Quick Google? Anyone? No?
It's okay. I don't know about that because look, the other thing people say is do something that you love for work. You'll never work another day of your life. The problem with that sometimes is people fall into it and then they, like, for example, if you're a music producer or a DJ, there's all this other stuff. There's like handling the bookings, there's the admin stuff, there's like payments, and then like not outsourcing the parts of it that you don't like, and then just feeling you have to do all of it means that you can feel it soul sucking. But also for some people, it feels that if they are attaching like this is how I'm making money, this is how I'm paying my mortgage, that it can take some of the love out of it. Find something you love and let it kill you. I think that's okay. Like, I don't know, would you want to die doing stuff that you love doing or die doing stuff you don't love doing? So I'll take that. I'll take the die doing stuff I love doing.
Mm-hmm. Would that make sense if there was less reward?
Well, the reward, if you love doing it, is doing it itself. So that's the reward. You don't care about the external rewards.
What's the top help question you get asked? Someone, Rob, I need help with.
There's two things that I get all the time.
Okay.
And one is some version of how do I do what I know I should do even though I'm afraid? How do I get in my own way? How do I feel confident enough to do it? And it's, it's taking a leap, making a change in their business, doing something that's vulnerable or scary. So there's some version of that. And it's so funny because I talk to people and I ask them questions and most of the people know what they're supposed to do. They know what they need to do. They have this idea that they want to create a project, they want to grow their business, they want to whatever. They know what the steps are. They have a good idea of like what some of the things are. But what if someone judges me? What if I get a nasty comment for posting a video? And that stuff holds people back. And then the other comment I get all the time is like, how do I get more clients? How do I actually get clients with my business? Because people like, whether it's, I've got people, I'm working with a lot of coaches right now, but I'm working with it's all entrepreneurs. And essentially, business, clients is the livelihood of that. And in the day and age of the internet, it's magic. This thing connects us to everyone.
The update box?
The update box connects us to everyone. And if you are intentionally looking to connect with people, to build community with people, to build relationships with people and know who your clients are, like I mentioned earlier, like I've worked with people in so many different countries this year and so many different continents because of the magic update box. Mm-hmm. So yeah, how do I get out of my own way and do things that scare me? And how do I get more clients? Those are the two questions that I get all the time.
Awesome sauce. I think that one of the most powerful things that's happened, that's definitely relatable for the show here, Utility Room, is that you did take a step back. And I'm assuming that not just performative or creative, but listening as well?
What, to music?
Or at least to this genre? Or the
Yeah,
idea? Were you listening to party music during this downtime?
There's probably like a 4 or 5 year period where I listened to almost no electronic music. But I've come back into it now, and I'm collecting music again.
And so this is magic for me. Because I think to myself, like, how fucking powerful is this music that with everything that you've been through, all that you've learned, the realizations of it, that you still wanted to go ahead and anonymously hit a dance floor. You'd still want to go ahead and jump on your social media and bust a break. And this is incredible because it doesn't need alcohol. Yeah. And all it really needs is love. And that's clear here, I'm sure. I'm going to read it. Yeah. It's obviously clear from the story. And that was exactly what I was thinking about when I asked you to come in and be a guest on the show. Because I thought to myself, I wanted to say it to you, that I think it's beautiful, and that what a magic part of the story, you know, is that stuff happened, and it was negative, but the positive stuff can still be pulled out. You leave all that other shit behind, and pull out the awesome sauce and hold it and keep it and still use it. And fucking hey,
I've got a really great story that ties this all together super beautifully. So the hardest part of the book to write, the hardest chapter to write, is surprising to most people because of some of the dark and difficult stuff I've shared with you that's in there. It wasn't those chapters. The hardest chapter to write that I wrote dead last, that I had to fight, that my editor was like, yo, am I getting this chapter, which I didn't finish until after we'd been through 2 iterations, was a music chapter. Was me performing at Shambhala, which is, as far as the storyline of the book, is like the pinnacle of my music days. And I couldn't figure out, why is this so hard to write? Why am I struggling with this? And Melissa, my partner's like, what's up? Like, why are you hitting a block here? And I finally got it done, dead last. Like, dead last thing I wrote was that. And in retrospect, on reflecting on it, I realized it's because I carried shame around music. I had shame. I felt like I'd failed in music because I did well. I got to a point where I was making decent money. I played some cool gigs. I played some festivals. I played all these cities coast to coast. But compared to where I felt I could have gone and I should have gone with it, compared to my peers, compared to other people I saw at the time, I felt like I should have gone way further and that I had screwed up and I felt like a failure. And I carried that shame until a couple months ago when I finished writing that book. And now that I've written it and I've gotten it out and I've realized it and I've reflected on it, it's amazing. I played my first gig in 2 years a few weeks ago. I played up in Barrie. One of the best gigs of my life. It was amazing. It was magic. Everything was just like, because I didn't care. I wasn't carrying all this baggage of shame from having failed at music. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I didn't carry all that like I'm trying to make a living at it. And it was so funny because my brother busting my balls came up after. He was like, have you gotten better? I was like, no, it's good. He's like, have you gotten better? And even my dad came to the show. And my dad was like, I didn't realize that you like did so much stuff. Because I played a fucking awesome set because I wasn't carrying all this shame.
Did you record it?
It's not recorded. There's clips. There's no recording of it. Oh. But I'm confident that I can have that happen again because if I played some other show in the spring or in the again, I'm not carrying all this bullshit in my head. I didn't even realize it was there.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Yeah, I'll play a couple select shows a year. I don't want to, I was joking about the time we were recording this. I'm like, it's on a school night. Like, I go to bed early. So that's the thing that messes me most. Like, I don't want to have to DJ at a club at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. or whatever, but I'll do a couple a year and I want to have more daytime options in my life. I would love to play a couple daytime gigs when the weather gets nice this year.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So good.
At least start us at like 6.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier the commitment with the book of writing 200 words today, be it great or not so. And I wondered, during the day, do you have other micro commitments that you have set for yourself, goals, micro goals to achieve? Do they differ from day to day?
There's ones that are every day, and then there's ones that are weekdays only. So every day I have a boot up sequence. I have a morning sequence that I'm pretty militant about, and it is an ice cold shower. It is stretches and exercises, it's meditating, and it's journaling. And the journaling, again, I haven't got any, like, it has to be this. It's like my goals, I just have to fill out at least 1 or 2 pages.
Yeah.
Some days I'm complaining, some days I'm writing things I'm grateful about, some days I'm feeling overwhelmed. It ends up being like a to-do list. Some days it's ideas. And doing that every single day clears my mind, gets the ideas flowing, gets my body flowing. Like even today, right now, like I was in Mexico last week. The weather's been amazing. I come here and it's cold and sweaty. I'm lying in bed like, this sucks. But the moment I go through my morning sequence, I feel alive, I feel awake, the ideas are flowing.
I mean, all of that sounds super awesome to me, except that you said cold shower, and I'm like, that's a big nope.
Well, it feels amazing after, especially when it's cold out.
Why the cold shower? There's a benefit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's really good for your circulation system, really good for health. It's really good for your immune system. And for me, especially since I don't drink coffee or rarely, it slaps me awake.
No coffee?
I've had 12 all year. Essentially, I've averaged like 1 a month all year.
Why the no coffee?
Because it's amazing and it's euphoric and it makes me feel unbelievable, and the crash afterwards suck. And then I often struggle sleeping later.
Did you go through a series of headaches or some type of, like, I've missed a day or two of coffee and I hated it. Did that happen?
Well, no, because I started my first time, I don't know where it was, at some point when I was a kid, I realized that all the adults are addicted to coffee. And all the adults talk about that if they don't have coffee, they have headaches. And all the adults are grumpy and shitty until they have their coffee. And I was younger being like, why would I want to do that to myself? So I managed to avoid it for most of my life. At one point, I was stuck at an office job that was too stressful. We were overstaffed and I was overworking. And I got on the coffee train and it was like, oh, just every other day. Oh, just once a day. Oh, just 1 in the morning, just 1 in the afternoon. Oh, and then I was stuck. And yeah, when I got off that, it was like headaches or whatever for a bit. But yeah, it's amazing, but then I feel like I'm stealing energy from tomorrow. And I always crash afterwards. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's been fascinating to learn about that, that you've not been drinking coffee. Yeah, I'm floored. Genuinely. I'm not being sarcastic. So, ready for some hot seat action?
Yeah.
Chair's on fire.
Let's do it. What you got?
Got 3 records that you know and love.
All
They're
right.
records that you either use to rescue the dance floor in that time of need, or when everything's going great, you pull them out because you know they're going to work no matter what, and you love them. They never leave your box. What are these 3 records?
Oh. God damn. Oh no.
Like sands through the hourglass.
It's going to be a moment. You're going to have to cut this out because there's going to be a moment for sure.
No, I think the groaning's going to be awesome. I'm going to grab it, sample it, and use it for the album. You're laughing, but I'm being serious.
Where's Your Head At?
Ooh.
And that's been in my box for a long time.
Fucking hell. Original?
The original.
Basement Jacks?
The original Basement Jacks is what I go back to
Okay.
more. They once in a while play the Stanton Roars remix, but it's normally the original. Pumpin'.
Ooh, Novi versus ENIAC.
Yeah. That's
Originally released on Cosmo Records.
Yeah. That's always a staple, a go-to.
Mighty track.
It's so good. It's so damn good. And then what's something that I always go back to, trying to think. I've got a folder that I call cheese, and it's all like like end of a set kind of stuff. But I'll go to it if I feel the room is struggling and I need to pull something out of there.
One last hurrah.
God damn, what am I pulling out of there? The problem is, there's a track, if I knew the name of it, I would tell you, but in my Serato, I used to always have it saved as Forget, because I used to always forget what it was, and I used to do Apple key F, type in Forget, and then I would pull it up. There's a track, actually, that used to be on Fresh Nova Records, and I don't know the name of it, and the sample is Don't Make Me Lose My Mind, and I played that every
Come on, Fresco Nova Records.
Don't
chime
make
in.
me lose my mind. It's green, yeah. And the only way to get it was by buying the album, and the album was expensive, and all the other tracks were low tempo, like trip hop kind of stuff, which sucked. But the way to get it without paying for that was to take that record out, get another Fresh Nova green sleeve, put it in there, and buy it as a single, and put the other thing in the album.
Is that what you did?
I might have done that.
Oh my gosh! Because there'd be someone that would run into the record store last minute, be like, I'll take it. I gotta go. I got no time to listen if everything's okay. No, Skips, is it good? Is it good? No, what? Fuck yourself. Okay, buy the record and leave. And be like, go home.
Mad Dr. X Mad Dr. X and Lose My Mind or Don't Make Me Lose My Mind. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the disappointment.
I feel
the pressure. I can feel disappointment
I'm just
on
saying,
all sides.
of all the things during this entire session, I feel like that might be the biggest bomb drop right there and then.
You know who I think told me that was the trick?
That's mildly sinister.
It
I'm
is.
letting you know.
I know.
That makes you a vinyl terrorist.
A vinyl terrorist. I'm
Indeed.
pretty sure that Dave Sadler told me that was the way to get it without having to buy the album. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm
Wow,
pretty sure
they're
Dave
just
Sadler.
throwing people under the rug this episode. Holy fuck.
But I still did it on
You
my own.
were like, was it you burned yourself and now you're like, I'm taking them with me.
Yeah, but I did it on my own. Even if he told me that was the way to do it, I did it on my own. And he wasn't, it's not like he was at the record store doing it with me. He just like told me the trick. Yeah, it's shameful.
If you could name, I know that you brought up Icy as a producer that was definitely massive and influential. Would you say that there was a DJ that you looked up to that you were like, oh fuck yes, this amazing?
Murat.
Toronto.
Yeah, Murat.
Via Detroit.
Yeah.
Was he a Canadian native?
He lived here for long enough that he might as well have been.
Right, I guess
Yeah.
you could say that's I guess Sneak still in Toronto. I don't even know if he's still in Toronto.
No, I don't think so. He was brought to play a random show at Footwork before Footwork closed, and he came in from the U.S., like from New Jersey or whatever. So,
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Murat, without question.
Wow.
Yep.
Which is not breaks.
No.
No.
But he would play Public Enemy and Hard Techno and Old House and Layer Records and like the whole twitching, whole body moving kind of thing, and like
I can't remember if it was his first mixtape that was, and who knows if that was the first one that was really popular in Toronto or was the second one, but there was one of his very early mixtapes that got a fuck ton of rotation with the crew that I was hanging out with at the time. Yeah, magic.
so great.
Magic. If people want to find Robb G online, and I'm not talking about musically, I mean, they want to find you.
Yeah, so the first thing you need to do is write my full name, ROBB Gilbear.
Right, because I've been calling you Robb G this entire show, but
Which is fine. Because
I held up the book. If someone zooms in, they could see it.
and I'm most active on Instagram.
Oh, no.
Oh, we're going to do a shot. There you go.
Okay, and then this handsome fellow is on the back. Don't be mistaken. This is really Rob. It's not Johnny Sins. There's a similarity between these two people, but
Anyway, so
do you know who Johnny Sins is?
I don't have
that joke failed.
Sorry, I don't know who he is. I'm most active and hang out a whole bunch on Instagram and on LinkedIn. LinkedIn of all places is crazy. The LinkedIn.
You've had amazing success upon that network.
Oh, it's wild. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without LinkedIn, without the people I've met there, without the connections I made, with the people who support. This book wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the community of LinkedIn. Because it's there, the first place that I published some of these stories of my trials and tribulations and difficulties where I was like fully embraced and people gave me such wonderful feedback.
Did you go through a series of platforms before discovering that was going to be the platform that you wanted to land on and put all your energy towards? Or did you just go all balls deep?
I went balls deep with it, but only because we were older and we went through the different platforms, and like I did well in MySpace, had a bunch of whatever there, and like got remix deals and met people and got gigs through it. Did Facebook heavy for a while, same thing. Met people, got gigs, did remix deals, had a business with other people before where we leveraged social media to get clients and whatever. So I knew how to work a platform and build connections and community to make it work for a business. And then when I decided that I wanted to leave the day jobs and go all in on this coaching business, I knew LinkedIn was having a moment. I knew there was something special there. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try doing what I've done on other platforms and just showing up and being my full self and interrupt the pattern there. And yeah, I intentionally went balls deep on it and it fully paid off.
Wild.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you coming by.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Super dope. Robb Gilbear. Die before they do. Extraordinary breakbeat DJ. And you too are absolutely awesome sauce. I appreciate you tuning in each and every week to this podcast. You make us feel dynamite. And I hope that we're making you feel dynamite too. Do all the things that make the room go boom. Like liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. And we will see you next season. This is the last episode of season 2, which has been incredible. It has. So incredible, I had to put on the bibble at the end. That's how incredible it was. I want to give a giant thanks out to the producer of the show, Dan Rice, as well as Pod 6, the studio that we're in right now. The show wouldn't be possible without both of these elements, as well as you doing all the things that I just said. I really appreciate it. We're going to see you next season, season 3. Holy super fuck! Utility Room. Thanks a lot.